Array is a very important concept in Solidity or any programming language. So in Solidity, we have two types of array. One compile time fixed size array and the other we have a dynamic size array. So let's take the example and let's see how we can easily able to update, delete, add into an array. So let's follow the general configurations. We have to provide the Solidity version, and here we're going to create a contract. We're going to call it array because that's what we're going to cover here. And inside that, we're going to create a couple of arrays. So several way to initialize your array in the contract. So let's do that. So first way is to this. This is the first way to initialize the array. So here we are creating an array which is a unt type, and we have used this public keyword so we can get a getter function, and this is the name we have given to our array, arr. So this is the first way to declare an array. Let's have a second way. So we'll again have a public and we'll pass this data, and this is the second way to declare your array. In that we are defining the value, predefining the value of the array. So that's the second way. Now let's do the third way. Let's give this comment: fixed size array, all element initialized to 0. And that's how you can do it. Here we have to declare 10 array, and we're going to call it fixed size array. In this fixed size array, we are declaring that we cannot have more than 10 element into our array, and that's what you have to follow in your smart contract, fixed size array. Now let's come here. Here we're going to create a function we'll call get. And with this function, we want to get the information from an array by particular ID, because every array will have a index. So it will start from 0, 1, 2, 3. So on the base of that index, we're going to get the data from the array. So here we're going to make it public. We'll call view returns unt, because that's what we want to return from the array, because it's a unt type. And here we're going to simply return the array, the entire array. In that we're going to pass the index, and that will give us the data. So this is the very first function we have. Let's create the second function. This will call Solidity can return the entire array, but this function should be avoided for array that can grow indefinitely in length. And that's very important, because in the smart contract, what happened that you're going to store informations, you're going to do the transaction, because this array is nothing but a state variable, and whenever you do any transaction, whenever you add any information into an array, what happened that you have to pay gas fee for every time. So that's why it's not a good idea that you should define an infinite array in your contract. You can go with the fixed size array, but you cannot go with the infinite. You can, but it's not recommended. So let's create a function. We'll call it get array, public view return, and we want to return the entire array. So not a particular data, but we want to return the entire array. So let's come here. We're going to define that. We'll say return, and we want to return the entire array, and that's how you can do it. So this is the array, and now let's create another function. We'll call it push public, and now we want to push the data. So you have seen that this is the normal array we have created, and we want to push the data into that, because we are not initializing any data at the time of deployment. It's just a state variable, an array, and we are pushing the data into that. So let's do that. We'll create this append to array, add to array, and here we're going to call this will increase the array length by 1. So every time you will add an array element into your array, it will increase that. So initially it will start from 0, 1, 2, 3, and will go on and on. So let's come here. Let's create an array dot push, the method we have. In that we're going to pass this I, the number. So this is the push method. Now let's come here. We have to take another function which is pop. So sometime what happened that we have an array and we want to remove something from that array, and that's how we can utilize it, by using the pop method. So we'll come here, we'll take the array, so removing the last element from array. So when you want to do that, when you want to remove the last element, you have to use the pop method. So we'll call our entire array. So this will decrease the array length by 1. So we'll call our pop method, and it will remove that last element in the array. So this is the function. Now let's create another function. This will call get length. So if you want to get the length of the array, that's how you can do it. So we'll say public view return. We want to return a number, obviously, because the length is going to be unt type. So that's why unt, and return the entire length. So just simply call the method dot length. It will give you the length of the entire array. Let's come here. Let's create another function we'll call remove. And now we want to remove an element. So just imagine that you have an array, 100 of array or 10 array, and that you want to remove a particular data, particular element from that. But what happened here that when you will remove that data into an array, so if the array length is 10, And if you remove that particular 5 element, sorry, number 5 element, so when you remove that, what happened at that time, it's removed, gets removed, but it will set the default value to the 0, and you will have the same 10 length. So there would be no changes in the length, but only in the value. It will reset the value to 0. So in that, we're going to pass this index public, and we're going to simply delete does not change the array length, but it reset the value at indication as a default. Hope this makes sense. And let's, in the case of 0, here we're going to call this delete method, and we're going to pass the array and the index, and this will become 0. So let's come here. We have to create another function. This will call example external. So let's test this out. So what I want to do is, into this function, let's create an array. In memory, fixed size can be created. So sometime what happened that you have an array as a state variable, and you want to create a copy of that array to execute certain functions, and that's what we have follow in our NFT marketplace. So you can check that smart contract. So in that scenario, whenever you want to create a function in a memory, that should be fixed size. It should be never dynamic size. It should be fixed. You have to define the length of that array, and that's what we're going to create here. So let's come here, and we're going to call this unt memory new memory, and here we have to define the lengths. So right now I'm going with a 5, and that's how you can define. You have to define the data types, then the array memory, and you have to give the name of the array. So we have taken a, and you have to use the new keyword, then you a data type, and you have to define the length. So that's how you can define array into your memory. So this is very important. You have to be very focused here. So that looks pretty good to me. Now close this one. So with this, we are done with this entire array section, and we have covered most of the topics. So you can see this is the entire contract, and now we can test this out. Here you can see we have the entire array contract we have written, and we have all these functions here. So let's come here, let's deploy the contract, and here you can see this is the only contract we have, which is an array. Click on this deploy, and here you will get the contract. Open it, and here you will find all the contracts, all the function which you have created right into this array contract. So what I can see right now, you can see we have this array 22. So let's test this out. So if I come here, you can see this is the one we have, and we don't have any function to add any error because we have defined all the element at the deployment. Initially we have defined all the values. So if I want to get the first value into this array, I can pass the 0 index, and I click on this, and here you can see I got the value 0. If I come here, if I pass the 3, because I don't have this 3 element, so I have to pass 2, because in array start with 0. So if I click on this, I will get the 3, and that's what I have in this. So this is how you can access the data on the base of the index into an array. And right now we have this array, and here we are using this array to update and delete and remove. So you can see this is the public we have used, and here we have it. And right now where it is, if I call this one array, you can see nothing I'll get here. You can see it's an empty array. And now what I want to do is I want to get this. So right now we don't have any array. We have to simply, first we have to set that array. So let's see where we have created that array. And this is the array. We're going to use this. So we're going to use this push function to add into our array. So where we have is, here we have that. So I want to add 5. If I click on push, the transaction went successful. And if I call this one get array, so this is the one we have, get array. If I click on this get array, here you can see I have this 5, which I have added. And if I want to find, let's add one more. So let's come here, let's remove this, let's type this 3, let's type this 7, 6, let's type this 8. So right now I have 4 arrays. If I click on this get array, I'll get this all 4 elements. So if I want to get with the help of this function, so I want to access this data number 3. So what I will do, I will type 1, I will click on this, I'll get this 3. Okay, if I want to get the 5, I can type 0, because array is start with 0, okay, index 0, so 5. If I want to get the length, right now we have 4. If I click on this, I'll get the length. We have 4 elements into our array. If I want to remove, so for removing, what I have to do, if I want to remove this, so right now we have this, I want to remove number 5, or number, let's say number 2, this is the 3 value. So for that I'm going to pass the 1 index, and I will click on remove. It's remove. If I call this get array, you can see I have this 4, because when you remove, what happened, that it only remove the value, but the length will not change. It will set the value to 0. So hope this makes sense. And if I want to remove the last element, so this is the length I want to remove, so I can call this pop. If I call the transaction successful, if I call get, you can see the array is gone. So the pop method delete an element from last. That's the general overview of an array, that how you can add element, delete element. In the next two video, we're going to have two more lessons on the arrays. In that, we're going to see the advanced use case of an array. So let's move to that.